Hello folks and welcome to our webinar, Experts Review on the corn dip processing industry in China under the epidemic. My name is Ray and I'll guide you through this webinar. By my side is Anna, our researcher, to give you her insights in the market today.
Hello everyone, thanks for having me.
Okay, welcome Anna. Um, all the information we provide are from our CCM industry development platform on the COVID-19 and our CCM corn product China newsletters. You can review the entry policies, measures, and relevant news during COVID-19 pandemic in different countries. And you can also understand the industry developments in China under COVID-19 by reading our researchers' insight on our platform. Don't forget to contact our team if you have any questions or inquiries regarding market intelligence in China. The agenda for this webinar is as follows. First, we'll have an overview about the epidemic domestically and overseas. Then we'll talk about the hidden impacts of COVID-19 on economics and enterprises in China. The next topic will be expert review on the commodity processing industry during the epidemic. And at the end, we'll also have a look at the industry trends in China under the impact of COVID-19. Okay, without further delay, let's get started with the presentation. As you can see on our platform, the overseas outbreaks developed increasingly serious. 220 countries, 12 countries have reported confirmed cases of COVID-19, of which more than 60 countries declared emergency. Community infection has been detected in nearly 100 countries. There are 4 countries to be taken as example to show you the current situation, which are China, the US, Italy, and Spain. Apparently, the number of infections in China has stabilized and is falling gradually. Due to the China government's swift response, the epidemic has been contained now. In the meantime, we noticed the number of infections in foreign countries is increasing rapidly. While China is falling, there are reasons to believe that they are going through what we've been through. Therefore, from my perspective, as one of the world's largest economies, the impact of COVID-19 on China has referential value for predicting foreign countries' economic development. Anna, since you've been here, I wonder if foreign countries will go through the situation as China under the COVID-19. I believe there must be some more details you can share with us how the coronavirus impact develops in the current situation worldwide.
Okay, as you're aware, the global airline industry has been hit hard because of the pandemic. Flight cancellations become a norm, and on March 22nd and 23rd, only 2 days, about 40,000 flights have been cancelled globally. Several countries have recently closed airports. Sea transportation have been affected, and more ports will be forced to close until the outbreak is contained. Well, according to these policies and actions have been taken, it must cause the following results. The epidemic caused a sharp decrease in air transportation capacity, and the cost of airline transportation increased sharply. Ordinary cross-border e-commerce goods can no longer afford the high air freight. Instead, they chose to use sea or rail transportation, which lengthened the cross-border transportation chain, and the inventory turnover rate is reduced. The efficiency of capital flow is also reduced, and the company's cash flow is tighter. The lockdown of the city and even the country due to the intensive academic situation abroad will lead to inadequate manpower in custom clearances, traders, warehouses, so the efficiency of cargo handling will be greatly reduced. A large amount of cargo will be backlogged in the terminal and strained in the warehouses, and both the sellers and the logistics will be suffered. And our international trips are also being affected. A lot of countries have announced travel restrictions during the epidemic, and media have also released the relevant news. Like us, we had to cancel the CCFIC trip to Shanghai and our business trip to UK, Germany and France, and also the IFT in the US. Lots of exhibitions, workshops, and summits are postponed or being cancelled, which makes the in-time and accurate market intelligence more important. And that's why we launched our industry development platform under COVID-19 to monitor the global situation and show the real-time exit entry policy and measure in different countries, and also reported the local news related to COVID-19. Besides, our researchers share their insights on the impacts towards different industry in China on the platform, and we gather the policy that our government introduced for your reference. And we are holding more webinars this month and share more insights we have.
Okay, so in March, the National Bureau of Statistics released the data on the operation of the national economy from January to February. Consumption, investment, and industrial production contracted sharply from the data of these 2 months. Data shows that the total retail sales of consumer goods was 5,213 billion Chinese yuan, a year-on-year decrease of 20.5%, and the national investment in fixed assets, excluding farmers, was 332.3 billion yen, a year-on-year decrease of 24.5%. Meanwhile, the industrial production has also contracted significantly. From January to February, the industrial active value actually decreased by 13.5% year-on-year. Export delivery value was also greatly affected, with a year-on-year decrease of 19.1%. This reflects the impact of the shutdown. Anna, can you please elaborate on the current situation of China economics and enterprises under the coronavirus?
Yes, although the consumption, investment, and industry production have all shrank sharply in the first 2 months, and many indicators have fallen the most in history. But overall, demand for production is considerable, and basic industry and epidemic prevention materials are well guaranteed.
Yet, we do feel the effect. There was a time that we can hardly get the masks supply in early February. We had to wait from home, but soon afterwards, the government dealt with it soon. In 2 weeks, well, we were all able to buy masks.
Yes, and the supplies of daily necessity and utilities are insufficient. The online economy is developing well, and the government policy and measures are powerful and promising. And after 2 months and a half lockdown, Wuhan just started lifting the outbound from the lockdown. So for China, it seems many things will recover very soon. But for abroad, I'm afraid it's not. From my point of view, due to the different cultures and beliefs, foreign governments have to find a way that is acceptable for their people to prevent the crowd gathering so that they can minimize the community transmission. Otherwise, their policy might be promoted with many difficulties and can't achieve the effect as same as China did. For the current view, I believe it will take longer to get recovery for Western countries, and from the chart we have seen, we have to admit the effects of the outbreak are only just beginning.
Yes, the situation abroad is not optimistic right now, but I think it's also good news that we have been through all of it that they are going to. They already have templates for dealing with the coronavirus. For China, it's rather happy that everything is getting better. But it's still not the time to relax. That's why the cinemas, KTVs, and other entertainment venues are still not allowed to be operated for preventing crowd gathering. Well, it's pity that we can't have company activities. I miss that for long.
Yeah, who doesn't? We have a lovely team to work with. Speaking of this, the Chinese economic is facing some difficulties and challenges in the short term. The first is the problem of the industry chain and the value chain fracture. Normally, more enterprises are involved in the production process of our enterprises. To this end, the government has introduced a series policies to help the small and medium enterprises survive the epidemic. In addition, international cooperation of some industries were affected due to the epidemic. Before mid-February, international transportation of goods were hindered to a certain extent, resulting in some Chinese-related industry. They lost part of their international market during the month. However, in late February, the epidemic situation in China has been basically controlled, and the transportation industry has resumed operation in succession. The freight volume and shipments of Chinese ports have rebounded rapidly. In early March, China's import and export freight volume has returned to their normal levels. After hitting a low point, it took less than 1 week for China's overall import and export trade to resume. From the nature and trend of the changes in the main indicators, the impact of the epidemic is short-term and gradually controllable, and part of the impact reflects the price to be paid to fight the epidemic, so there's no need to overemphasize its negative side. Generally, the total economic volume in the second half of the year accounts for 55% of the whole year and 45% in the first half of the year, with only about 20% in the first quarter. As long as the economy recovers faster after the second quarter, we will have the opportunity to make up for the economic losses from January to February. Agriculture production is less effective and the supply of agricultural products is basically stable. At present, the supply of agricultural resources such as seeds, fertilizers, and pesticides is sufficient, and at the end of January, the number of sow capacity of breeding sows was 17.74 million, an increase of 3.9%. Even in the more severe areas, basic necessities of people are still guaranteed. The outbreak coincided with the Spring Festival, and in general, the impact on demand was greater than on supply. The impact on the service industry was greater than other industry, and the impact on production capacity was limited. The explosive growth of online consumption and smart economy has changed some of the negative effects and opened up a new space for high-quality economic development. As you know now, other countries' situations are just like ours in late January. A lot of impacts are just getting started, and different cultures and different habits and concepts will lead to a longer responding time to make things get back to normal. But for China market, it's actually opening up a new and big opportunity.
Well, from what you said, I can get the COVID-19 outbreak did bring some opportunities to the economy. Not all are negatives. So, how has the corn industry changed under the COVID-19? Can you just learn a bit of the trend of this industry in the current China situation?
In early February, affected by the spread of the coronavirus, road traffic control was implemented in most parts of the country. The grain sales progress was stagnant, and the poor logistics led to a decline in the circulation of new grain and making it difficult for companies to acquire more. With the consumption of more corn during the Spring Festival, the company's inventory gradually decreased, and even the phenomenon of tightness, especially in North China, the periodical supply shortage appeared. and some companies delayed production. Therefore, the national average monthly price of corn in February was 8, 1,856.67 per ton, which was 41.26 per ton RMB higher than the average price in January, a month-on-month increase of 2.27% and a year-on-year increase of 2.19%. And on February 4, the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Affairs issued an emergency notice to maintain the normal production order of animal husbandry and ensure the supply of meat, egg, and milk, to alleviate the shortage of raw materials for feed breeding and deep processing enterprises, and to increase the feed supply in South China. The National Grain Trade Center (NGTC), commissioned by related national departments on February 7, commenced trades of 2.96 million tons of policy-based corn through price bidding on platform of the Grain Chain and Coordination Center of State Administration of Grain (GTCC) of the National Food and Strategy Research Administration and related promising district national grain trade centers. Those policy-based corn were mainly stored in Hubei and Guangdong provinces and other major planting provinces and areas with high incidence rates of COVID-19, beneficial to motor transport with reduced distances. This move eased the tight corn supply in major sales regions and effectively prevent and control the spread of COVID-19.
So, in early February, the logistics is the biggest problem of raw corn supply, and our government has introduced relevant policies and measures urgently to prevent the situation from getting worse.
Yeah, starting from late February, logistics and transportation gradually improved. Corn purchases and sales gradually started, and the market supply gradually became abundant, with the continuous release of policy grain, except for part of Hubei in the southern south area. The arrival of corn has improved in central and southwest China, which has eased the overall tight supply situation. Since March, corn sales and purchase have also gradually increased. The market supply is relatively sufficient, and the arrival volume of the processing companies has remained high, and traders are more active in stockpiling grain. In the short term, market supply will continue to increase under the control of the epidemic situation, the improvement of the logistics situation and policy support, and in the medium and long term, firstly, the production capacity of the live pigs will improve, and secondly, after the epidemic improves, other downstream demand will gradually recover, and the total demand for corn will increase significantly. Under the impact of some of the world's main corn producing areas are suffering from drought and locust disaster, and the domestic corn production in 2019-2020 season decreased slightly, and also the invention risk of the fall armyworms. The supply and demand of domestic corn in the medium and long term will gradually tighten, and the price is expected to keep unstable. In addition, the attention should be paid to the auction of state reserves corn.
The impact on the upstream supply must affect the downstream products as well, right? How are they affected? With the outbreaks under control, how will this industry change?
Well, at the end of February, 73% of the commodity processing enterprises in North China only maintain a minimum safety stock within 15 days, and no enterprises stock could be maintained for more than 30 days. The safety stock of Northeast commodity processing enterprises is higher than that of North China, and 80% of the enterprises can maintain their safety stock for about 30 days. The demand for deep processing of corn mainly includes corn starch and corn ethanol. After the Spring Festival, the operating rate of corn starch industry has continued to drop sharply to about 40%, which is significantly lower than the level of the same period in the past 2 years. Why corn ethanol's operating rate is higher than the same period last year? The performance of cornstarch and corn ethanol is very different. At the beginning of March, the average operating rate of cornstarch companies in China was about 57%, which has been rising for 3 weeks, and it is still 16% lower than the same period last year. Although industry production is gradually recovering, the recovery of food and inventory is slow, and the operating rate of such sugar processing is slow, causing the such stocks of companies to continue to rise. According to the statistics, the stock of China's corn starch companies in the first half of March was 871,800 tons, up about 70% year-on-year, with the industry's operating rate increased rapidly as of March 26, 2020. The national corn starch industry's operating rate was 64.1%, an increase of about 0.9% from the previous week's operating rates, and basically returned to the normal levels. And as the weather turns warmer and the epidemic situation is controlled, the downstream demand for cornstarch will increase, but the price boost will be limited. In the short term, under the pressure of rapidly recovering supply pressure and high inventories, total national stock totally 871,800 tons as of March 20. The cornstarch market price will continue to run quickly and making it difficult to reverse significantly. And the average operating rate in February of the corn ethanol was 16.05%, with the epidemic gradually under control. The operating rate of the national corn ethanol industry in mid-March was 61%, an increase of 3% year-on-year and a decrease of 7% from the same period last month. To ensure the adequate supply of 75% alcohol during the Spring Festival, many companies, such as Nantong Biochemistry, urgently switched to produce 75% disinfectant alcohol, and some companies that plan to shut down during the Spring Festival, such as Mengzhou Huaxin, Anhui Ante, and so on, recall employees during the holiday to produce disinfection alcohol. As of the end of March, the domestic epidemic situation has been basically controlled. However, alcohol as a disinfectant will still be used on a large scale in the near future. And in addition, in 2017, the National Development and Reform Commission, the National Energy Administration, and so on, 15 departments jointly issued the implementation plan on expanding biofuel ethanol production and promoting the use of automobile ethanol gasoline, proposing use ethanol gasoline for vehicles. And therefore, the consumption of fuel ethanol is bound to increase further. In general, under the influence of the epidemic, the overall demand of the corn processing industry is still at a relatively low level, and it will be difficult to improve significantly in the short term. In the corn processing industry in the first half of the year, ethanol companies will remain the main force in corn consumption growth.
It seems the trends about cornstarch and corn alcohol will be quite different. What others will be changed after the COVID-19?
Well, you see, during the epidemic, artificial intelligence, remote office work, internet plus medical plus pharmacy, etc., growing fast. Despite the market downturn, consumption of information, protective supplies, health and health supplies increased significantly, and food sales from January to February increased by 9.7% year-on-year. New types of consumption and upgrading consumption are constantly expanding, and new consumption models such as contactless distribution and many retail are developing rapidly. So after the epidemic, if you ask me, this whole industry might flourish. China's online shopping capacity will further increase after the epidemic. Artificial intelligence and robot applications will accelerate. The importance of community business is gradually emerging, and food safety and health issues are more important in how the industry will change. Let's talk about the e-commerce. The online shopping becomes the only few ways left to purchase the daily supplies, and more niche apps are being discovered, marketed, compared, and eliminated. The demand has never been so great and clear. Therefore, the application side has enough information to understand the user demand, so as to better develop the application and promote the benign development of the e-commerce market. The market is becoming more competitive, but also more opportunities. In China, the epidemic provides an opportunity to improve the capacity of online shopping. The online shopping conveniences has been significantly magnified in this outbreak, and due to this epidemic was so long, people who didn't shop online before also developed a habit of shopping online. So I believe that after the epidemic, the online shopping will remain the dominant way of shopping. No matter what industry sees this opportunity to develop their own online platform can be helpful. The other side, food safety and health issues are given a great deal under the coronavirus outbreak. New regulations coming soon, and health food and healthy ingredients will be more popular. Functional foods and drinks that enhance immunity and protein-rich food and plant-based meats will meet a new opportunity. Overall, the short-term impact of the epidemic on consumption is large, but it will be moderate in the medium term. And with the introduction of a series of national and local policies to promote consumption recovery and the potential release, later consumption will gradually recover. And during the epidemic, the country's daily necessity market was adequately supplied. The epidemic has caused China's market and circulation to withstand a severe test, but it will not change the development trend of long-term stability and the continuously upgrading of China's consumption.
Well, and that leads us to the end of this webinar. Thank you all very much for attending, and we hope you could get some key points out of the presentation. If you have any questions left, please write them down in the chat box or send to your account manager. We will get back to you by email as soon as possible. All the information was enabled by our brand CCM analysis. If you want to find out more, and follow up the latest news, I recommend you to have a look at our website or subscribe to our China News. Contact our team for any questions and inquiries. Thanks again and have a nice day. Goodbye.